Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you tonight. We have a couple of guests. We have Drew West, the author of The Secrets of the West Coast Masters, a book about growing cannabis. We also have Dr. Eric Eisenbud, who works with the THCF Medical Clinics. He is here this evening. And Tim Pate is standing by in the wings over here, ready to sing us a song. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing fine, Paul. How are you tonight?
Very well, very well. You have a pretty nifty guitar there beside you, don't you?
I do. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes after the news.
Okay. And we'll have our news and some film clips. A clip from Jorge Cervantes' Cultivation video, as well as we'll be playing toward the end of the show, not to bum everybody out, but No Knock Raid about SWAT team raids and their consequences. So stay tuned as we bring out our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves.
I feel the force.
All right, our first story this evening is from New York City. According to a recent poll, 55% of American adults support legalizing marijuana. That's up from 52% in 2010, according to the new results of an Angus Reid public opinion poll. The pollsters conducted an online survey of a representative national sample of 1,003 American adults. A solid majority, including 63% Democrats and 61% of independents, said they endorsed the legalization of marijuana. 40% of those polled said that they opposed the idea, and 5% were undecided. The poll's margin of error is 3.1%, plus or minus. The Angus Reid results are slightly higher than those published by other polling firms, such as Gallup, which use random digital dial sampling. More men, about 57%, than women, about 53%, voiced their support for legalizing cannabis. Respondents between the ages of 35 to 54 were most likely to support legalization by 57%. However, a majority of respondents from every age group polled, including those over the age of 55, said that they backed making marijuana legal. No more than 10% of the respondents said they favored making any other illicit substance legal. In Washington State, there are now 2 initiative drives to legalize cannabis. The New Approaches Washington one and the Yes on Ending Prohibition. Those have the opposing acronyms of YEP and NAW. NAW, or New Approaches Washington, would tax cannabis and sell it in state liquor stores in Washington State, while YEP would just remove criminal penalties from adult possession of cannabis. In California, Jack Herer's initiative is being circulated, the Hemp and Cannabis Initiative, and there's a move by the folks who brought us Prop 19 in the 2010 election to put together an initiative for the next ballot. It includes the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, Local 5 is a supporter, as is Richard Lee of the Oaksterdam University, and the backers behind Progressive Insurance, who funded many of the recent bills. They're also backing the New Approaches Washington bill in Washington State, and the Colorado bill that's run by SAFER group, the Safe Cannabis is Safer Than Alcohol group. And of course, our petition here in Oregon that I am the primary mover and shaker behind is moving forward. We have well over 30,000 signatures. We need 87,232 valid registered Oregon voter signatures by next July to qualify for a vote. We're about a third of the way there, but you know, we need your support. If you can help us out, go to cannabistaxact.org. That's cannabistaxact.org and make a contribution. It is there's a tax credit for Oregon residents who pay taxes and a $50 tax credit. Our next story is from Tel Aviv, Israel. The Israeli government on Sunday acknowledged the therapeutic utility of cannabis and announced newly amended guidelines governing the state-sponsored production and distribution of medical cannabis to Israeli patients. A prepared statement posted Monday on the website of Office of the Israeli Prime Minister states, quote, "The cabinet today approved arrangements and supervision regarding the supply of cannabis for medical and research uses. This is in recognition that the medical use of cannabis is necessary in certain cases. The Israeli Health Ministry will, in coordination with the Israeli police and the Israel Anti-Drug Authority, oversee the foregoing and will also be responsible for supplies from imports and local cultivation," end quote. According to the Israeli online news site Haaretz, approximately 6,000 Israeli patients are supplied with locally grown cannabis as part of a limited government program. This week's announcement indicates the government officials intend to expand the program to more patients and centralize the drug supply. The Jerusalem Post reported, quote, "There are predictions that doctor and patient satisfaction is so high that the number could reach 40,000 in 2016. The Israeli Ministry of Health is expected to oversee the production of marijuana in January 2012. Similar government-sponsored medical marijuana programs are also active in Canada and the Netherlands. By contrast, in July, the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, formally denied a 9-year-old petition calling on the agency to initiate hearings to reassess the present classification of marijuana as a Schedule I controlled substance without medical utility, according to that scheduling. The DEA stated in the July 8, 2011 edition of the Federal Register that cannabis has, quote, "a high potential for abuse, no currently accepted medical use in treatment in the United States, and lacks accepted safety for use under medical supervision," end quote. Even though no one's ever died in history from cannabis, it's not safe, according to our government. I think our government isn't safe, but, that's my opinion. Our next story is from Rockville, Maryland. The northeastern part of the United States possesses the highest rates of self-reported marijuana consumption, according to a new federal government report. As a region, New England states Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont rank in the top percentile for marijuana use in virtually every category surveyed, including marijuana use in the past year among youths aged 12 to 17, marijuana use in the past year among persons aged 18 to 25, marijuana use in the past year among persons aged 12 and older, and marijuana use in the past month among persons aged 26 or older. Other states that consistently ranked in the top percentile of marijuana use in the United States are Alaska, Colorado, Hawaii, and Oregon. Nationally, the study reported, quote, "no increase in current illicit drug use occurred in any state among those aged 12 to 17 between the years 2002 and 2009. The findings rebuff claims made recently by the drug czar and other federal officials that the implementation of statewide medical marijuana laws, most of which were enacted between the years 1998 and 2004, is encouraging increased use of cannabis and other illicit substances by young people. A separate study published in June by the Marijuana Policy Project also reported, quote, "of the 13 states with available data, teen use rates have stayed the same or decreased since enacting medical marijuana laws," end quote. The state-by-state consumption data was compiled from the federal government's annual national survey on drug use and health, which interviewed approximately 138,000 Americans aged 12 and over in 2008 and 2009 on their use of illicit and licit substances. The full text of this study, state estimates of substance use and mental disorders from the 2008-2009 national surveys on drug use and health, is available online from the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Our next story is from the Seattle Times, just Thursday. The United States Justice Department is now downplaying its threat to prosecute state employees who regulate or license purveyors of medical marijuana. Recall the April 14th letter from U.S. Attorney Ginny Durkin in Seattle and Michael Ormsby for the Eastern and Western Districts in Washington to Washington's Governor Christine Gregoire regarding the medical marijuana bill then in the Washington legislature. Those letters said that the people in the medical cannabis trade might be prosecuted under federal law, and then, noting that the bill would involve state employees as regulators, the U.S. attorneys said, quote, state employees would not be immune from liability, end quote. It was a vague threat. These sorts of letters are carefully worded, and the vagueness was on purpose. The federal government was reserving the right to prosecute, which it of course already had, but it was still not declaring an intent to do so. Still, Washington Governor Gregoire cited this statement as the reason to veto the parts of the bill licensing growers, processors, and distributors of medical marijuana. Now comes Arizona, where voters last year passed a medical cannabis law. The state filed a federal court action asking for clarification of federal law. The U.S. Justice Department's response here presents several reasons why the court should dismiss the case without answering the question. And one of those reasons is the U.S. Justice Department never made any genuine threat to prosecute state employees. In the government's court papers, it calls the threat to Arizona employees, quote, mere speculation, end quote. It also notes that U.S. attorneys sent out letters in other states but say none of these, quote, genuinely threatens imminent prosecution, end quote. Back in April, a number of people in Washington said as much. It would have been helpful to them had the government said then what it says now. This is an article from Seattle Times, written by Bruce Ramsey. Our next story is from Southern Oregon, written by Jeff Bernard, an Associated Press reporter down in Grants Pass, Oregon. I've spoken with him several times. It's out of Williams, Oregon. Medical marijuana has taken root in this idyllic town like nowhere else in Oregon. Nearly 20% of the population of Williams, Oregon is now registered to grow cannabis legally, and an untold number deals it illegally, creating stark contrast in the bucolic burg where children still ring the bell to start school days and pancake breakfast draw a crowd at the local community center. The Associated Press analyzed the locations of registered cannabis growers in Oregon based on their zip codes and found that Williams, by far, has the heaviest concentration. More than 400 of the town's 2,000 residents are authorized by the state to grow up to 6 cannabis plants each. The proliferation of cannabis became the talk of the town last summer when new Google Earth satellite images showed little green circles in neat rows all over the valley. According to Neil Sanat, the owner of a local cafe, he said, my daughter showed me it on her iPhone. She said, Dad, look what your neighbors are doing, end quote. 6-foot-tall fences that screen marijuana gardens from public view have become so common that a local pastor uses them as landmarks for giving directions. One resident's trying to capitalize on the growing popularity of medical marijuana by starting a testing lab. A variety of marijuana grown here, called Williams Wonder, is cherished among cannabis connoisseurs. Though big city Portland has cafes where medical marijuana users smoke cannabis while singing karaoke, it's the rural communities of southwestern Oregon, like Williams, that have the highest percentage of folks smoking it, growing it, and caring for others who use the drug. Neighboring towns in Josephine have high rates of cannabis growers similar to the 19.5% Williams, O'Brien at 15.2%, and Selma at 10.5% are among the highest, according to the Associated Press analysis. One zip code covering mostly rural residences showed 60 out of 80 residents with permits. The Oregon Health Authority will not provide any identifying information on cannabis growers and patients beyond their zip code for patient confidentiality. Will not provide information on zip codes with fewer than 50 card holders, also for confidentiality reasons. Medical marijuana has been growing in popularity statewide since becoming legal in 1999. The number of residents registered as patients, caregivers, and growers this year hit 120,945, nearly 4 times the number 5 years ago. Few who were asked to register are turned down. Only 950 applications, or less than 1%, were terminated, denied, or suspended. The number of people authorized to grow for others has also mushroomed from 12,274 in 2006 to 26,734 in 2010. In Williams, the number jumped among their population of 2,000 from 122 to 301 for the same period. That is the end of our hemp news segment tonight. We're going to jump over to Mr. Tim Pate. Welcome back, Tim.
Hello, Paul. That was interesting. I'm really glad to hear Williams is so ahead of the curve as far as taking care of people. Because there's a lot. It's a beautiful community. I've been there quite a few times, and
Yeah,
love
I
it.
went down to a Jefferson Cup Cannabis Awards.
Oh,
Building in Williams, and I entered my train wreck strain, and
yeah,
came
which is a good
in
one.
third.
Excellent.
Among like 25 different entrants.
And they have probably had quite a few winners down there. I mean, I know they get pretty good at their craft.
They
I've
invited to dinner, so
I've tasted some of it, so I know. I admit here on the air right now that I do smoke marijuana. So it's one of those things. You mentioned a little while ago that I had something kind of shiny and fancy over here, and indeed I do. I'll hold it up real high, up like that, about like that. There we go. This is the grand prize at the Seattle Hempfest this next weekend, which the 19th, 20th, and 21st of August. Every year, it's always the third weekend in August. We give away some prizes from Main Stage. This is Sunday's main prize, and it has been signed. Let's see, there's Gatewood Galbraith's signature on there. There's Mark Shark. There's John Trudell. There's Quiltman. There's Willie Nelson. There's Bill Spear, Willie Nelson's bass player. We have actually quite a few people. And then at the end of the show in Seattle, it will be covered by signatures from everybody who plays on Main Stage over the weekend, next weekend, and all of the people come and speak. And so it will be covered in signatures. And if you happen to be there, you've got to be present to win, but there will be a raffle from Main Stage. And we've been doing this now legally for quite a few years, and it's very exciting.
This is the 20th anniversary of the Seattle Hempfest.
This is the 20th anniversary of the Seattle Hempfest. We have been at this since 1991, and this is the 16th year in Myrtle Edwards Park down on the waterfront. We'll have 5 stages. There's over 90 acts and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of booths and food in every direction and speakers in every direction. And so there's an opportunity for, if you do get to come, to learn a lot about our movement, to learn a lot about the business of our movement, because there are a lot of businesses involved there. And THCF, in fact, this year again is our presenting sponsor, and we're very happy that that connection is still going strong.
We're proud to be there and do that. It's a great honor.
It is. It's an honor for me as one member from Oregon on the core staff to represent not only Oregon but.
So you open the Main Stage each and every day.
I do,
and that's something you've done since the beginning.
I have been playing Main Stage since 1995, and
Nice.
so since we started in the park there at Myrtle Edwards, and so this will be. Oh my! I've played it quite a few times, and I'll open Main
16.
Stage all 3 days, and I will also close the Hymposium stage on Saturday afternoon, or play from 6 to 6:45, which is late in the day, and then give away the grand prizes on Main Stage with the help of whom knows. I've understood that Phil Lesh was coming this year and some other notables, and perhaps he'll help me give away some of those grand prizes on the
I
stage.
saw the Herbivores were the last one on the official schedule.
Yes,
currently.
they are, and that's appropriate. Jim and his band is wonderful, so I'm always look forward to listening to them, and if I can, get to play with them too sometimes over the years.
All right.
They've really been a lot of fun. Well, anyway, let's look at it's almost it's not harvest time, but I know some of those green things out there are starting to look mighty big and tempting. So, take a look at the pictures and dream about 2 months down the road, because here it's coming.
Tim Pates on guitar, the Doc Severinsen of Cannabis, I like to call him. And if you'd like to see him play live, go to Seattle Hempfest just next weekend. If you'd like to see the biggest protestful in the world, go to the Seattle Hempfest and enjoy the day with 200,000 close friends and see a whole new level of freedom here in America. So we are taking your phone calls tonight. If you have a question for us, you can call us at 503-288-4448. We'd like to welcome on the show for the very first time Dr. Rick Eisenbud. Welcome to the show, Rick.
Good to have you on, Doc.
Very nice playing, Tim.
Thank
Been
you.
working
Thank
together
you.
since about 2007. You've helped certified people all across the country. You've helped us open our offices in Michigan and Montana and Arizona and Denver and lots of states. Worked from Hawaii to Michigan and every place in between. So I'd like to thank you for that. So if you have a medical question, Rick can help you there. And we also like to welcome the author of Secrets of the West Coast Masters, Drew West. Welcome to the show, Drew.
Yes. Good to be here. Thanks.
Thank you. Here is his book. I know you can get it at kdkwholesale.com, among other places, including the Third Eye here in Portland.
That's right. Or you can check out www.westcoastmasters.com.
All right, all right. It looks like a great book. I was just looking at it here, and
we'll
it's got a
talk
lot of
about that
step-by-step instructions, and we'll talk more about it here in just a few moments.
Good.
Welcome in, Tim.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You got a lot of stuff out here.
We've got a
too.
big show and tell thing.
Yeah.
I knew since we had a couple good guests, I wanted to bring out a lot of nifty things. We'll talk about this in our show and tell segment here in about 20 minutes or so. But we are taking your phone calls tonight. So if you have a question, call us at 503-288-4448. Caller's been patiently standing by. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, can you hear me?
Uh-oh.
Hello, caller. All right, well.
Oh, there we lost them. It's
Yeah,
like a big
that's your
fish.
chance, so get through at 503-288-4448.
Can't set the hook. We can't catch the fish.
So, Dr. Eisenbud, I remember when we opened in Michigan, many people there were going, is his name really Eisenbud? And you were an ophthalmologist before, so I remember asking you, did you ever think your name would be your career path?
You would determine my whole career path, that's right.
Yeah.
Eyes and in the bud.
That's
Right, right. So you're an ophthalmologist, and you practiced as an ophthalmologist for a good number of years. You were in internal medicine.
I was in family practice and ER before
Oh, wow.
ophthalmology.
Okay.
I see.
That's how long were you in that rotation?
Mostly ER for 6 years.
Wow, that's commendable. Is that you take everything that comes your way in there?
It was
That's
exciting.
yes, that is. Wow. You have direct knowledge about the effect of the medicine that we're talking about on this show in glaucoma. Would you describe that to the people who are listening? Because some people have questions about that, and I mean it's
an
always
ophthalmologist,
on everybody's list. That issue, how does it help? What's the deal?
Well, it's supposed to lower the eye pressure, and even with some of the conventional medicines, they're not always sure about exactly how they act on the eye. But with marijuana, it probably increases the outflow of the aqueous fluid so that it lowers the pressure that way. As with many things,
Dilates things.
it dilates some of the outflow channels for the internal fluid that the eye makes,
Sure.
called the aqueous. But as with many things, there seems to be a disparity between what the clinical data shows and the experimental data shows with humans,
Right.
which is that eye pressure is lowered for just a couple of hours, about 2 pressure points, which is it's something. It's not a lot, but ophthalmologists like to say, well, somebody would have to be stoned all day in order to get that effect. But I kind of differ with that, and I know people. So the anecdotal evidence, as with studies about pain that show minimal effects,
Right.
the anecdotal evidence is again much more overwhelming. And people tell me that since they started using marijuana, their pressure is significantly lower when they go to the ophthalmologist.
Right.
The ophthalmologist says, well, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. And so I think that there is much more significant pressure lowering response from using marijuana. I personally tell patients that they could probably get a more sustained effect by using edible products rather
I was
than
going to ask,
smoking.
which do you think was the best delivery system?
Just
for that
just
condition?
theoretically, I think that
Uh-huh.
edible marijuana would be more effective in lowering it because it has to be low all day long.
Right. Steady doses.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not like pain, which is where somebody may have pain for an hour or so, but then they're better. With glaucoma, you have to have a low eye pressure around the clock.
Right. Or it's just going to go right back up again, just continue to spike until it does damage.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Absolutely right.
We are going to attempt to bring a caller in again. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello?
Hello, you're there. Right on.
Hello, I'm on the air.
You are.
Yes. I was going to ask you if you know of any other presidential candidate besides Ron Paul who favors legalization of marijuana and industrial hemp.
Gary Johnson, the two-term New Mexico governor, is running for president, and he came to our Hempstock Festival last year and gave a rousing speech, and I interviewed him on Casper Leach's Time for Hemp show about 6 months ago, and he is a proponent of legalizing cannabis and regulating it. And, you know, out of all the Republican presidential field, he is the only one who is still popular in his own state. If you go to Massachusetts, Mitt Romney's not popular at all there anymore. If you go to Texas, Rick Perry's not all that popular there, but Gary Johnson is still very, very popular in the state of New Mexico. So not only Ron Paul, who is a Houston congressman, and back in 1988 he was the Libertarian Party nominee for U.S. president, but Gary Johnson are two members of the Republican field that are pro-cannabis.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So, Drew, let's talk a little bit about your book. I'm reading from the back cover here. It says, "Ounces are for amateurs. Learn how to yield a pound per plant indoors." You've got a step-by-step grow guide where you'll learn how to design and set up your grow room for stealth and success. Build your own custom equipment, clone machines, hydro systems, training rails, and scrogs. Master secret growing techniques of transplanting, feeding, training, and pest control. And turn your plants into pound-yielding monsters by using simple math.
That's
What's
right.
a strog?
A scrog.
A scrog.
Yeah, screen
okay.
of
I didn't
green.
get it. Oh, okay.
Exactly. It's like a horticulture trellis net.
okay.
The 6-inch by 6-inch openings.
Yes. Oh, sure.
Yeah, and we
I've
use
seen that
to-
in use
okay.
in Southern Oregon just a couple weeks ago while I was down there touring 3 huge gardens down in Jackson County. We were reading about Jackson County. I saw a picture in here in your book you were showing me a moment ago of that.
Right. It's a multi-purpose tool. It does a lot for you. Not only does it hold up the weight of the buds so the plant never kind of shuts off production so it doesn't break an arm and
Yes.
have to keep going. It maintains a level canopy. That way no bud or no branch ever becomes dominant above the other, and that way you have an even distribution of colas across the plant, across your canopy instead of just one main.
Does it come in sheets?
Yeah, it comes in rolls. Typically, I buy mine in 16-foot rolls,
How long?
4 foot wide by
Okay.
16. Yeah. It's low cost, and like I said, it just serves a lot of purposes.
What prompted you to write a book?
Well, a lot of people told me I should. I guess I've been writing. I've been growing here in Oregon for the last 5 or 6 years, and ever since we've come up with this method to yield 1 to 2 pounds per plant indoors every time someone comes over the garden, they're like, "Wow, you really got to share this with people because this is exactly what we need." We're limited to our numbers of plants that we can have.
Right.
Being only able to have 6 over a foot tall and a foot wide, it's important to
Have good
maximize
production
your
from them.
yields off each one. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what we've done, and hopefully, the instructions in there allow everybody to stay within their legal limitations and always produce plenty of good medicine for themselves.
Very good.
Yeah.
I like
So you're
that.
an Oregon medical marijuana grower.
Yes.
And
Yes,
so
I am.
Been able. I know you were at a lot of different events with this in the past year. I know the Treating Yourself
Expo. Yeah.
Expo that was in Toronto, Canada, just a few weeks ago. What was that? About 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, about 6 weeks ago. That was
Yeah.
a great time. Meeting everybody up in there and seeing what the whole scene was like in Canada, and how people, the whole
beautiful.
canvas. Yeah.
I haven't been there in many years, but
Yeah.
beautiful. city.
No, I'm looking forward to going back, seeing Marco Renda and Kelly from,
Yeah.
KDK and all those guys.
Publisher, Treating
Yeah.
Yourself Journal.
That's
You can
right.
actually pick up a copy of Treating Yourself Journal in our offices. We have that over the counter.
It's a fine magazine. It's like
Yeah.
it's just close thing to a medical journal, I'd say.
Yes, and it's important to get all that information.
Right.
You know, even for us laymen.
We have another phone call standing
Well,
by. Welcome to the
Present
show,
company
caller.
excluded.
Hey, how you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Good. I'm an Oregon, Washington, and California patient. I go through you guys' clinic.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to speak on something I thought was important is traveling with your medicine and TSA, which the last year I've traveled a couple times out of state to states that don't accept medical marijuana, but just going to a local airport here out of Oregon and speaking to TSA about traveling. You know, in times past, I was worried and I would keep it in maybe my check-in luggage or something. This time I spoke to TSA before I traveled, a few days before, and they told me they have, you know, rules. So they've probably met and, you know, have discussed this and have a program of where they told me that with being a medical patient, just have your paperwork. You never want to put it in your check-in luggage. You want to keep it with any other medication you may have, like, you know, antibiotics or pain pills or something, and they want you to keep it in the top of your carry-on and actually put it in maybe a bin where you put your shoes and your wallet and keys and run it through. You want to run it through just like that, and I've had no problems in the past, and it makes it a lot more comfortable to travel with it. They want you to put it in a clear, sealable quart-size bag. So whatever you can fit in there, that's how you want, you know, which a lot of medical patients are worried about. And I've done it before where I'm worried, you know, is somebody going to take it from my check-in luggage? And I think, you know, it's important to let people know that there are rules and, you know, they do accept it. And I've had no problems in the past year flying to, you know, states that don't accept it.
And that was at the Portland airport, right?
That I flew through PDX and I flew through Eugene.
Okay.
And both times I had no problems, and they're pretty much aware of it, you know, which a lot of medical patients don't know about it.
Right.
So I just wanted to let you guys know and let other patients know that, you know, you shouldn't have to be worried about traveling with it. Just follow the rules, and, you know, you'll make it through safely.
Yeah, that's good information to share with our audience. I am a frequent flyer myself, and I always travel with cannabis. I've been carrying my Volcano as a carry-on and always put it in its own bin since about 2004. And I recently had one TSA employee tell me, you know, my dad uses this and he says it's great for with his medical marijuana permit. So
Right.
they're very supportive.
Yeah, that's just what I wanted to let people know about.
Great. Well, thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys have a good day.
All right.
That would be a scary moment, you know, the first time going through, knowing, I know this used to be illegal. It's not for me now, but
Right. I don't usually put it out in the in a bin on its own. I put my vaporizer out in a bin on its own.
That's true. You've told me about
But I don't put my cannabis out. But he says you can, and I guess they encourage you to do just that. So that's a good thing.
Very good thing.
Yeah.
it's good that they have a rule. And they
I
can follow it.
recently read just about a month ago that one of the Canadian airlines, can't recall their name, not the main Air Canada, but one of the Canadian airlines have allowed patients to vaporize during the flights.
Whoa.
I actually
So-
met a woman in Toronto at the Treating Yourself event that had done that, and she called ahead of time and asked them if it was going to be okay, and they said, yeah, that's fine, because they let people use those electronic cigarettes on the planes as well. And
Oh,
they're
really?
like, so yeah, that's go right ahead, and they got video of it. And
I know in the days before 9/11, I would always smoke in the bathrooms, but that's another story.
Okay.
Even on flights to Hong Kong and stuff. In fact, I remember one time when I was in the Army, I was just a teenager then, I was flying into Lawton, Oklahoma, the home of Fort Sill,
Yes,
the
it is.
artillery
Yes,
base, and
it is.
the whole plane reeked of marijuana. You know, and so, and it was all military people then. That was 1979.
Hopefully not the pilot.
Well, I wouldn't mind. One time I was in a debate with U.S. Attorney Charles Turner for the state of Oregon back in '86 when we had the marijuana initiative on the ballot, and he asked, would anyone in here want to fly if the pilot had gotten stoned the night before? And I was the only person in the crowd of about 100 people that raised my hand, and he recognized me. He goes, well, you're that pot grower. We have a call we're going to take. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yes, hi, thank you.
Hello.
My question,
Yeah, welcome.
Is when I purchase the leaf, hopefully the leaves or the clusters, how long will it last? Can I put it in a Ziploc bag or a Tupperware container and put it in my freezer?
Yeah.
And how long will that
It's best to cure it first, and so if you've got it dry, generally they say it degrades up to 10% a year. So you can figure if you have it a year later, it's about 10% less potent than it was the year before. That's what I've read anyway. I can't vouch for the accuracy of that. Did that help?
Yes. Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I think that's good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your call. We appreciate it. We have a film clip. We're going to show a little excerpt from Jorge Cervantes' Ultimate Grow DVD. So we'll be back in just a moment after a brief clip from this.
Another cool author.
Pick.
A bountiful harvest is the payoff for all the research, work, risk, and investment you put into your grow room, not to mention the long, patient wait. A well-organized harvest is essential to ensure the highest quality cannabis.
The best way to tell when one of these buds is ripe is to look at the resin glands. The resin glands tell a story.
Get a close-up look at resin glands. Use a 10-power magnifying glass, jeweler's loupe, or a 20 to 50 power handheld microscope. Resin gland development will be in one of 3 stages: clear, milky white, and amber. The best time to harvest Sinsemilla is when THC production has peaked, but not yet started the degradation process. Sinsemilla flowers are mature 6 to 12 weeks after the photoperiod has been changed to 12 hours. Established indoor varieties tend to go through 4 to 5 weeks of rapid bud formation before growth levels off. Peak harvest takes place 1 to 3 weeks after growth slows. Avoid the taste of organic or chemical fertilizers in harvested buds by flushing with plain water or a clearing solution 7 to 10 days before harvesting. Do not water for a day or two before harvest. The soil should be fairly dry, but not dry enough so plants wilt. This will speed drying time by a day or more and not affect the quality of the end product. And most importantly, plan in advance where you will securely dry all that bud before you cut it.
Well, there's these guys sleeping right over there. I don't know who they are, but I want to keep it quiet. So here's the deal. We're going to harvest now. Get down here so we can see this, because what I'm doing is I'm going to just take these simple scissors and cut this baby at the base. It'll be a little bit hacking, but not bad, especially if I bend it and hack it. Here we go. Now, we're going to take this bud, this beautiful bud of Love Potion number 1, over to the trimming teepee and put some nimble fingers to work.
Proper handling is the key to retaining THC potency after harvest. Prolonged exposure to light, temperatures above 80 degrees, friction from fondling hands, and damp, humid conditions should be avoided. THC exists only in the leaves, flowers, and glandular trichomes, lovingly referred to as resin glands or simply trichomes.
All right, boys. Time for the final test.
Ricky! Oh my God.
So that is an excerpt from Jorge Cervantes' Ultimate Grow DVD. And those folks there at the end are Canadian television stars, the star of the Trailer Park Boys television series on the CBC up in Canada. So we have a caller standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hi. Basically, I wanted to make a comment in regards to I'm a full supporter of what you guys are doing, and I'm a 420 person. I'm in agreement with everything, but I have a dilemma because just like when they had a prohibition against alcohol and the cigarettes and the tobacco, you have a people that are for it, but then you have government entities that are basically allowing to put additives and take out and put out what they want to produce for the mass public, meaning that you don't have any ingredients on the cigarettes, you don't have any ingredients on any alcohol beverages. So when it's government related and government regulated, they're going to basically put out what they want as the legalization of what they think marijuana, cannabis people want.
You know, let me just address that real quickly, and I appreciate your concerns. In fact, I have those very same concerns. I can't speak to the initiatives in circulation in Washington, Colorado, or California, but I helped write the one here in Oregon. And we put a section in the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act that currently has over 30,000 signatures, about a third of the way to the ballot. And it says explicitly that they have to list all ingredients, and they have to test it for pesticide and mold and mildew and put that on the package. Any ingredients, any additives, any adulterants or contaminants. So I can't speak to what the other states are trying to do, but our initiative in Oregon, currently in circulation, does deal with just that. It requires that all additives and ingredients, adulterants and contaminants be listed on the package.
Okay, now when you mention about the contaminants and different things like that, you have different growing techniques and you have different people that have different methods on how they actually grow their cannabis. Now, when you go as far as the government size of big-scale mass producing for cannabis smokers, are you saying that as a whole that you're going to have some regulation over what the government is actually doing? Because
and in fact the grower, under our proposal, again, I can't speak to these other states right now, but talking about the Oregon bill, it says explicitly that all qualified applicants and anyone who hasn't been arrested for selling cannabis to a minor or found guilty of the new law that hasn't passed yet, violating that, then all applicants will receive an equal piece of the grow cycle, as long as it meets market demand and you know what the market wants. And so we require that all people who apply for a license, as long as they haven't been found guilty of selling to a minor, will get such a license to grow cannabis. So we won't have any one big farm. When you look at tobacco cultivation, it is set up in allotments for growers. So you'll have a grower who's growing 500 acres of soybeans or corn. He'll have an allotment to grow 1 or 2 acres of tobacco, and he'll make more money off his 1 or 2 acres of tobacco than he does off his other 500 acres. So we're setting up a system akin to that in terms of making certain that those licenses are, quote, equitably distributed, end quote, according to the text of our proposed legislation.
Right. Now, I understand exactly what you just said. Now, just say, for an example, when you go as far as the extent of how they're having equal eye in the strawberries right now in Oregon. They have certain people who have certain methods on how they grow cannabis. And now when you have large-scale growing, you can't watch all areas of that harvest. Some areas of that harvest is going to somehow be picked off by bugs. You're going to be smoking on different things which are not very healthy. And so when you look at certain people, I give an example. If you're a cannabis smoker and you happen to smoke something that has bugs on it, okay, all those things get into your lungs. Now, who's to say that the government won't be putting out these same things, these bugs? So now you have these people that are not really, trusting cannabis because of what the government is putting out.
Well, the other thing about our proposal is it will allow anybody who wants, as long as they're over the age of 21, to grow cannabis with no artificial limits on the amount that can be cultivated. As long as they aren't trying to sell it, they can give it away to their friends and neighbors. Anyone will be able to grow their own, and it makes it legal for anyone over 21 to sell the seeds and starts of all strains of cannabis. So it will open up the market, and it will completely legalize industrial hemp, and I think that's the biggest economic impact of all. But I appreciate your concerns, and thanks for raising those. And we urge you out there, if you're interested in legalizing marijuana and you want to find out more, go to that website there on your screen. It's cannabistaxact.org, cannabistaxact.org. If you're an Oregon taxpayer, there's actually a $50 credit where if you loan us $50, the state of Oregon will pay back 100% of up to $50 per individual for political contributions and up to $100 for married couples filing jointly. We have had to lay off a lot of petitioners in the past couple weeks, so we certainly need donations right now. Or if you want to volunteer, you can click on the volunteer button and we'll send you petitions to gather signatures. If you just want to sign it yourself, you can click on a button. It'll print out, use your printer to print out a single-sided sheet. You can sign that and mail it into us or bring it into our office at 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard, Monday through Friday between 11 and 6 p.m. So those are several ways to get involved. You know, we're involved in this because marijuana prohibition's wrong. Hemp produces more fuel, food, fiber, and medicine than any other plant on this planet. And in its place, we have a drug war that's causing untold deaths every year. What we're going to show next is a very somber music video written by a Toronto artist named Lindy, produced by the libertarian media group Reason TV with Reason Magazine, called No Knock Raid. So this is very somber and has some graphic video from police raids showing people being killed, innocent people being killed. We'll talk more about it in just a moment.
In the future. I want to say, however, that despite our budget problems, to the extent money can help in meeting the problem of dangerous drugs, it will be available. This is one area where we cannot have budget cuts because we must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one in the United States, the problem of dangerous drugs.
It's a no-knock raid, don't be afraid. We'll shoot your dogs in front of your kids, 'cause we are the SWAT. We're here for your pot and all the cash that you've got. We are adrenaline junkies taking orders from the top. KGB and the DEA, they'll make you disappear like in Guantanamo Bay. In the middle of the night, you'll have nothing to say. If we get the wrong address, it doesn't matter anyway. We'll still get our kicks, we'll still have our fun. Yeah, we are the SWAT, we are adrenaline junkies till the drugs are all gone. It's a no-knock raid, don't be afraid. Paramilitary police state on parade. It's a no-knock raid, don't be afraid. You do the time for your victimless crime. It's a no-knock raid. It's a no-knock raid. Don't be afraid.
You shoot my dog! You shoot the fucking dog! Oh my God!
This is a war, and this is your fate. We are the face of your new police state. We are the law, and we've got the guns. Statutory power, mandatory minimums. We are the SWAT, we're here for your pot and all the cash that you've got. We are adrenaline junkies taking orders from the czar. It's a no-knock raid, don't be afraid. Paramilitary police state on parade. It's a no-knock raid, don't be afraid. victimless crime, and it's a no-knock raid. It's a no-knock raid. Don't be afraid. Paramilitary police state on parade. Flashbang on the ground. Don't hear a sound. Could be you, could be the mayor of your town. And it's a no-knock raid. It's a no-knock raid. Don't be afraid.
So that was an artist named Lindy, and it's quite disturbing video there. In that last scene, which just happened last May in Tucson, Arizona, they shot that man, Jose Guerrera, 67 times while he was asleep on his couch. He'd just gotten off a 12-hour shift at his local job. He'd been home for less than 2 hours. They raided the wrong house, shot him 67 times. That's why we're working to end marijuana prohibition. We sure could use your support. So we urge you to go to cannabistaxact.org and get involved in our petition drive to completely legalize marijuana here in Oregon and restore industrial hemp. We could use your help. We got a great show and tell segment for you tonight. We're going to start right here with this bottle of American hemp. And it's CBD strong because they say in it that it doesn't have the narcotic properties of cannabis indica, and it's used as a painkiller and anodyne and antispasmodic. So this is circa 1910. Right next door to it we have 3 products from Park Davis of Detroit, Michigan. And so this is cannabis indica. And then we have this one here, which is cannabis Americana. This has the remnants of a back label. This has a date on it. It says April 15th, 1915. That's right about when they started the national income tax. Then right next to it is a small bottle. It holds 1 ounce of powdered extract of cannabis. This is has about half of its original contents in here. This is powdered hashish, or the trichromes, off of the marijuana plant, just pure cannabis resin. Right over here we have this nifty permit from the IRS that gave physicians permission to sell opium, coca, and cannabis. And so this was issued to a Pennsylvania doctor in 1943 from the Internal Revenue Service, and it says that it expires in December 31st of 1943. Then right here we have 2 identical packages of Johnson & Johnson's corn medicine. This is a British product. We have some American products, not on the show here tonight, but this is 20% aspirin, 10% extract of cannabis indica, and 70% rubber mass used to combine the products. And here's another one of them that's been opened. You can see the cannabis patches. It's got a cloth back, and you put the cannabis on your corn and it comes off. Comes with nifty little directions. Let's see if we can keep the camera focused on the items here instead of me. You've seen me enough. Come on back to camera 2. Yeah, that's the one. Here, you got directions on how to use it. Right here, we have a specific medicine from the Lloyd Company, and it's about 3/4 of the way full. It's still got its contents. This is from circa 1890. Next to it, we have Sharp & Dome's hypnotic compound with extract of cannabis, chloroform, potassium bromide. Over here, this one is about halfway full still, and this is from the Merrill Company, which has now been purchased by Merck, as Dr. Eisenbud reminded me of a while ago. It contains no opiates or alcohol, and so this is a another cannabis extract. This one is a nifty embossed bottle from Dr. H. James, Cannabis Indica, out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And last but not least, we have this new product I just picked up at the barber today. Thank you, Job. It's Hemp Z Pure Herbal Extract, age-defying herbal body moisturizer. And right over here, a hemp pack from Ecolution, 100% hemp. There it is. So that's the end of our show and tell segment for tonight. We're down to just a couple of minutes left. We're going to have to forego that patient caller who's been standing by. Rick, I'm glad to have you on the show. We've got to have you come back when you've got more time to talk here. So maybe in the coming weeks, months.
It's a pleasure, Paul.
Dr. Rick Eisenbud, thank you. Drew, is there anything you'd like to say in closing here?
Just please check out my website, www.westcoastmasters.com, and get some more information about the book.
Great, great. Well, thank you for coming on. I want to thank you all for watching. If you'd like to see all of our works, you can go to our portal site, hemp.org. That's HEMP.org, and see how you could see one of our doctors or find out about the Cannabis Tax Act or an archive of news videos and printed news at hemp.org. We're going to go out with Mr. Tim Pate and some pictures from the THCF Medicinal Garden. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp. Good night.